Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack the deep psychological reasons that keep us stuck, and more importantly, how to finally break free. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this material because, frankly, this isn't just about high-level theory. It's about fundamentally changing how we operate day to day. We're going to expose the invisible mechanics of our own minds so you can finally take back control. Let's get right into it.
So let's start with a moment of honest reflection. Have you ever felt like you're just running in place? We have all been there, right? You put in the effort, you have the absolute best intentions, yet you find yourself trapped in these repetitive cycles of frustration. The scenery around you might change, but your actual progress just feels completely stalled. Why does that happen? Why do we hit these plateaus and feel so unable to move past them? Well, to figure out how to move forward, we first need to understand exactly what's holding us back.
That brings us to Section 1, the invisible prison, your comfort zone.
Now, when we hear the phrase comfort zone, we usually picture, a cozy blanket and a cup of tea. But actually, scratch that. The reality is a lot harsher. It's a biological wiring. You see, our brains have evolved to prioritize safety, certainty, and predictability above almost everything else. It's a survival mechanism. But in our modern world, this mechanism often acts much more like a suffocating cage than actual comfort. Imagine a bird sitting inside a cage where the door is left wide open, but the bird refuses to fly out because the cage is literally all it knows. That's us. We stay inside these boundaries just to avoid the unpredictable, even when those boundaries are the exact things keeping us miserable.
Moving on to Section 2, the fear of identity loss.
Stepping out of that open cage triggers a massive, almost primal conflict: familiar pain versus unfamiliar growth. When we try to change, we aren't just afraid of failing. We are terrified of losing who we fundamentally are during the process. We often unconsciously choose the familiar pain of our current situation over the unfamiliar growth of a new reality, simply because the unknown feels way too threatening to our identity. It's kind of like a worn-in pair of shoes. Sure, they might give you blisters, but at least you know exactly where those blisters are going to be. Unfamiliar growth requires you to step into a totally new version of yourself, and that feels incredibly risky.
Which leads us right into Section 3. The power of beliefs and self-image. The crucial point here lies in a massive chain reaction. Step 1, thoughts. Step 2, beliefs. Step 3, actions. And Step 4, results. This fear of identity loss cements our self-image, reinforcing the powerful psychological truth that you ultimately do exactly what you believe you are. Our fleeting everyday thoughts eventually harden into unconscious, limiting beliefs. Those beliefs, things like "I'm just not a confident person," or "I always fail at this," become the invisible directors of our actions. And our actions, inevitably, dictate our life's results. If you're stuck at Step 4, you can't just try to force new actions at Step 3. You have to trace it all the way back up the chain.
Because honestly, when these beliefs run entirely on autopilot, we end up in a deeply stagnant place. Time just spins past while we remain trapped on a metaphorical hamster wheel of unconscious repetitive living. You wake up, you follow the same routines, you react to stress in the exact same ways, and you wonder why a whole year goes by and nothing has fundamentally changed. It's dangerous precisely because it feels so normal. You're basically living on a conveyor belt driven by old, unexamined beliefs.
But here is where everything shifts for the better. Section 4, the breakthrough, rewriting your narrative.
Stories can be rewritten. You are the author. I want you to really, truly absorb that for a second. Up until this point, we've talked about biology, cagers, and autopilot. But the ultimate breakthrough comes from recognizing a beautiful, empowering truth. This autopilot state is absolutely not a life sentence. It is merely a rough draft. The narrative keeping you stuck is completely, 100% changeable. And you are the one holding the pen. This is an incredibly empowering realization. You are not the victim of your brain's wiring. You're the powerful architect of your future.
Imagine sitting at a beautiful, sunlit desk with a completely blank page right in front of you. It's time to step off that treadmill. The moment you take agency over your self-image, you unlock boundless potential. You begin transforming those limiting beliefs into words of endless possibility. You stop saying, "Well, this is just how I am," and you proudly start writing, "This is who I am becoming." It's an uplifting, active, daily process of consciously choosing words that serve you.
So, let's turn this breakthrough into a clear, empowering roadmap. Breaking free requires 4 liberating steps. First, you've got to recognize the autopilot patterns. Catch yourself in the act of repeating the old story. Second, challenge that fear of unfamiliar growth. When you feel scared of a new opportunity, remind yourself that the fear is just a sign that you're expanding, not that you're in danger. Third, step out of the comfort zone. Boldly walk right through that open cage door. And fourth, consciously rewrite those limiting beliefs. Whenever a negative thought pops up at step 1 of our chain, you cross it out and rewrite it into a belief that actually fuels your extraordinary growth.
And finally, Section 5, your next chapter.
Now that we've laid bare the mechanics of exactly why we stay stuck, it is time to embrace the amazing reality of what comes next. As we conclude this explainer, I want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. What is one specific narrative in your life that you are going to joyfully rewrite right now? Is it a story about your career, your relationships, your own self-worth? Take a moment, identify the familiar pain you've been clinging to, and boldly choose unfamiliar growth instead. Let us know down in the comments what story you are changing today. Remember, you hold the pen. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to explore more fascinating concepts with you next time.